Hi guys, best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
For 2 weeks in a row, the races have come down to the final lap. Both Monza and Lime Rock Park provided unique challenges due to the unusual track layouts. But while both previous rounds were held at very fast circuits, things get flipped around here today at Barber. Tight, technical, and a real beast to master, this Alabama racecourse often keeps drivers on their toes. Will that allow each of the classes to see another pair of new winners this season? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Barber Motorsports Park is relatively new to the North American racing scene, so for our viewers who haven't heard of this place yet, let's head down to our track guide.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Barber. Down into turn 1, expect a lot of understeer with how the track drops away. But immediately, you've got to get yourself ready for the Alabama roller coaster. This long, rolling bend is best if you square off your exit to try and get a better launch. The tricky part is that you'll need a hair of a lift through turn 4, and yet you'll also want to keep your speed up as much as you can. That's because Charlotte's Web is easily the most popular passing spot on this track. You definitely don't want to be vulnerable into here. Watch the curbs to the inside because they can bounce the car all over as you're trying to apply more throttle. From there, hold to the left for the best line into Museum Corner. Overtakes can be made into here, but you really can't stay side by side through this weaving downhill plunge. At the third apex, try to tuck the car into the inside as best you can so that you can really mash the gas at the bottom of the hill. Then first up on the back half of the course is the 10-11 chicane. Brush the brakes going in, and then as soon as it feels like it'll grip, get to the power. Drift back across to the right, and then steel yourself for the 12-13 chicane. You'll be slowing through the left-hander, then easing back onto the gas as you crest through 13. You'll only be flat to the floor briefly because 14 becomes one long drifting arc into 15. It's best not to hug the inside because the radius tightens sharply at the end. Plus, you don't want the car to push wide so that you've got a better line into the final turn. There's a lot of banking here, but the car will once again want to understeer on the power. But hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Barber.
You see your way around inside the Audi, but it's 2 classes here, and well, 2 classes at a track like this, Adam. I suspect it's going to be a little bit frustrating at times.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a challenge for the drivers. This is a dark horse pick for the most technical road course on the service, and Barber Motorsports Park tends to surprise drivers who haven't tackled the track before. With its modest 2.38 mile or 3.83 kilometer 16-turn primary circuit, it throws a lot at the driver. Off-camber corners, carousel turns, fast elevation changes, and high-speed technical sections. Out of the 2 cars, the GTP will feel the most at home here, with the gentle curbs inviting some creative lines if you're brave enough to risk spinning the rear tires across them. The couple of slow-speed hairpins make the corner exits at the setup choices for the corner exits and the setup choices that are difficult for the Nissans, as a balance between good mechanical grip and high downforce will be necessary to conquer this place. The Audis are likely opting for the high downforce package today, as keeping the tires planted through the high-speed sections will be a struggle, as the Audi doesn't like to turn at speed. Another ingredient in all this is the multi-class struggles, a racing line that crosses from right to left a lot, a deceptively wide track surface, and a closing rate higher than many of our circuits. And you have a recipe for some coming togethers today, and that will make for an interesting race for sure, Joe.
Doubt about that, as We let qualifying get underway here. We've got an update on the point situation, starting with the prototypes. And Fabian Gerber, with his win last week, moves himself up to the top. Nick Lucanos almost took it, but he is in second now and followed very closely by both third and the tie for fourth. Krejcik Gerber, Tobias Gerber, we should point out, and Antti Lepisto, all hot on his heels. We'll see if today separates things at all for that. And, well, we've got the GTO Championship, which has also seen two different winners.
Yes, but it's a lot closer at the top. We have Jamie Hall in the lead with Philip Lake in second. Well, rather in first. They're both tied for first right now, 47 points on top of the leaderboard. Jukka Scala, 9 points behind. That's actually a little bit difficult to close the gap, especially if Jamie and Phil have good races. Ralph Zeipelt, a newer driver to the series, jumps onto the board for the first time in the third position. He was up 9 positions from last week. And Ryan Lang, also up a couple positions. He's up to 5th position. So, wow, just an impressive group of drivers in the GTOs and some names that we weren't expecting to see up there right now, Joe.
Absolutely. And if you haven't watched this series yet, well, let's run you down the race details real quick. And round 3 out of a 13-week season this time, 40 minutes of racing in today's race. Their sprint format. Cars are open setup. We heard Adam talking a little bit about what the drivers will be looking for in that setup, but they have no fast repair, meaning there's no spare car waiting in the pits if you get damaged during the race. And they have an incident limit at 25 where they will be disqualified, but they will be sent in for a drive-through before that at 17 incidents. Not expecting that to really be too much of an issue here, as we generally don't see too many offs without some damage to the car. Now, we are joined by a very fast driver we are familiar with here on iRacing. Cy Andra has the provisional pole in the prototypes. We're used to seeing him in more modern prototypes. Hopefully, he'll give us a good show on that. But we've also got what looks like Phil Lake maybe just took the provisional pole down in GTOs.
Yeah, and then quickly Ove Trangray just leapt over him. So a lot of the Audi drivers struggled with their second laps around here. We're watching Rob Olnick right now, as I believe that he's on what may be a practice lap for him. No, he's coming around the final turn right now, and he's going to be one of our final drivers to take the checker flag for the qualifying session for the Audis. Another driver that has yet to take his qualifying times is Jamie Hall, who's tied for first. Ryan Lang also has yet to take his times. He's coming across the line now.
Rob just took pole. The number 4 goes to the top ahead of Trangray by 0.2 of a second. Ryan Lang winds up in 6th after finally get a time on a board. He unfortunately had his first lap not count due to an off track. This is Rangel and Leon now that we're watching on screen. Jacob manages to put it into 13th rather. He's another car that seems to have had trouble his first time around.
Yeah, and Joe, it's really important for Robbo to get that pole position because he got knocked off of that top 5 leaderboard in the Audis this past race. So Jamie Hall now coming around for what will be his first of 2 time laps, and he will be able to get a second one in. So as he crosses the line, that's a 122.155. That's good enough for third. That'll put him behind Rob Olnick and Ove Trangarade. So he's got a little bit of work to do to try and get pole if he wants to, but he's lined up right next to his Dirty Torque teammate. Simo Raba will be next across the line.
These cars do have the new tires on them from iRacing, and a lot of times we've seen that those new tires take a little bit to get up to temperature. Is that the case in the Audis now with this new tire model? Is it second lap is usually the better one?
Second lap definitely is usually the better one, or at least it feels better when you're driving it. And it's actually hard to get these tires up to temperature because of the 4-wheel drive system that we have going. You want to make sure that you get them up to temperature evenly, and it can be difficult to do that because of the amount that this Audi likes to slide around. Pablo Rangel gets a 123.833, good enough for 7th place. Hideki Koivisto coming across the line for his second lap. That's going to be an improvement on his time by about 0.4 to a 115.565, good enough for 17th spot.
Jamie Hall is just now coming around the final carousel up to turn 16, banked left-hander downhill on the main circuit. Probably going to be pushing here. He's got 2 positions to make up to start at the very top and get that valuable track position at a place like this. He goes quicker. It's a 21.4, and that is good enough for pole by half a second.
A very impressive drive for sure from Jamie Hall to get up there. Pablo Rangel still left on track with 30 seconds to go. I think he'll be able to make it back to the line.
Be a little bit close here. It's 30 seconds left. He's on the back stretch, heading through the 2 chicanes back there, up and over that very blind crest out of turn 13. And he keeps it nice and tidy as he swings it into the final carousel. He's going to be our last driver to come to the line, but I don't think he's going to make it. He's just
4 seconds.
shy.
No, he's not going to make it. Oh.
All right, well, that is going to complete our grid here for today's round. Let's go through our prototype start. It is going to be Cy Andra on the pole, challenging Fabian Gerber. And in fact, he's got a fair bit of a gap between himself and Fabian, even though they share that front row. Laust Olsen will be starting P3 of all places. Laust continuing to improve race after race. Tobias Gerber starts P4 with Antti Lapisto, a shocking 5th position, usually vying for pole. Nick Mukanos, also a little far down for him, starting 6th today after nearly taking a win last week. Alex Millward will be starting 7th with Fabian Jungbluth in P8. Pablo Suarez will start 9th, and the top 10 rounded out by Clayton McLeod. Martin Kraytrick, who has been higher up the order in the qualifying, well, he's unfortunately down in 11th today. Chris Bauman starts 12th, and Mike Reuter P13. And you got Jacob Leon. He got bumped down to 14th before we could check in. And Douglas Cloud will start 15th. Don Peak will start P16, and Hideki Koivisto, the last one to get a time, at 17th. They'll be followed by Garatsidas and, Sintez Guindo and Pruitt.
Yep, and then we have Jamie Hall, who's taken the pole in the GTOs with Rob Olnick lining up alongside him. Ove Trangrade's going to start off in the 3rd position, and then Philip Lake's going to start off 4th. We have Ben Laughter starting off 5th at the GTOs with Thierry Giesen starting off in 6th position. Pablo Rangel starting off in the 7th spot with Ryan Lang in 8th. Chris Decker in 9th, and Jim McGill starting off 10th today. Lucas Fort, another new name to the series, starts off 11th with Simo Raba in 12th. Antonius Garatsidas is going to start off in the 13th spot. Then we have the drivers who did not get times in. Carlos Fonseca, Stephen Lawrence, Chris Lawrence, and Oliver Ebersold are going to round out your 17-car GTO field and your 36-car field for the race today.
I've already got drivers commentating about how that is a bit of a big number for a track like this. And even though it isn't the biggest field we've seen, it is a tough one to try and deal with that traffic. So I'm kind of curious, Adam, what are the worst spots for these drivers to try and force the overtaking of the other class at this track? Are there places that are more dangerous than others?
Absolutely. The sector between 9 and 10 is the most dangerous place to try and make a pass around here. Turn 7 through A and B, also through 8, is really, really challenging on the back end of the course. Aside from that, it's just having to be careful with everybody. Aside from those positions, turn 4 could be a challenge going up over the hill right past this carousel that we start the track with. But if you play your cards right, both classes can get through there pretty clean as long as the Audis know that the GTOs are coming. And that is one of the places where the speed difference is the greatest.
Come down to one of the few places where drivers are expected to try and make passes as we now watch that GTO class come out of the carousel. Down into Charlotte's Web. Very big drop down there, that huge crest. I'm kind of wondering if the first lap is going to see a bit of problems with the cold tires and the drivers having to adjust braking into that corner.
Yeah, I would expect to see a little bit of struggle on corner exit for the GTPs on the first lap. They're going to be wanting to pick up some track position because of how much of a traffic management race this is going to be today for them, as they are the larger class. So they're going to be trying to pick up track position while they're still fighting in amongst their class, and they're going to be pushing really hard to get off of these corners.
They come down through Museum Corner, one of the most unique turns at this track. Now, with this many cars out here, if you have trouble keeping up with what's going on and you don't see your favorite driver on screen, check out GSRC.tv, where we've got live timing and scoring so you can follow the action and keep track of where your favorite competitor is out there here in Alabama. As now we head along that back stretch. This is one of the spots Adam was just talking about that can be dangerous. It's called the back stretch, but there's really not much straight to it because we've got 2 chicanes, this being the second one. Takes you into the final portion of the lap, up into the last little carousel. There you can really get a sense of how blind that crest is, and I'm hoping we won't see too many wrecks in those danger zones where drivers can come up to it at full speed and have no idea what is ahead. There goes the Porsche pace car into pit lane. Andra has control of the field now. Keeps them nice and tidy. Got 2 good rows down through the field, out of the final corner, and he gets on the loud pedal. Green flag is out here in Alabama, and it's Cy Andra already easily ahead of Gerber down into the first turn. Behind them, it's looking pretty good as they head into this Alabama roller coaster, as they call it, and I see no dramas so far, so let's head to the GTOs.
No dramas in the GTOs yet, but they're just hitting turn 1. They actually start. Oh, we have a couple of cars that really struggled to turn through that corner. That, I believe, was Ove Trangerade, who's off track. He's now back to 7th position as they go through the carousel and up over the lumpy turn 4.
Antti Lepisto got into the side of Tobias Gerber, just side-to-side contact, and poor Tobias slid off the track because of that. Otherwise, it looks like everything is good here in the prototypes as they head through Museum Corner, and Tobias already getting on the radio expressing his displeasure.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that today. A lot of aggression from these classes while they're still in amongst themselves. As soon as we start to hit traffic, things are going to get a lot worse for these guys. They're going to be very careful. Then we have the GTOs actually catching up to the back of Roy Pruitt, our final GTP driver. This is actually going to hold up Jamie Hall here if Roy Pruitt isn't able to get away, and it looks like he's really damaged, so he's actually going to move over to the side and let these guys go. That's a sportsmanship move right there.
Oh, he spins right in front of a bunch of them, though, right at the exit of 13. He's going to be able to get it off track. Nobody hits him. We'll come back to that later. Up at the front of them, as that is Tobias Gerber off again. I'm not sure what that is about, but we were watching Jamie Hall leading Rob Olenek. Somehow he had gotten ahead of him when we weren't looking.
And here we go, still looking at the battle between Jamie Hall and Rob Olenek. Rob's going to try and go around the outside of this corner as we had another wreck in the GTPs. That's Laust Olsen who's gone around.
A lot of dramas going on for the prototypes here at the start as Olenek continues to give chase, but now has to go defensive on Phil Lake. Lake and Hall, both of the ones that have had wins so far this season. Olenek still looking for his first victory here. And so I'm sure he is just as hungry as those two. Down into Museum Corner once again. Olenek starting to fall off of the number 7 of Hall and still being pressured by Lake behind.
Yeah, I would expect Jamie Hall to try and run away with this. Phil Lake's going to do his best to challenge Rob Olenek and make him go defensive so that Jamie can get a gap. These two are teammates. They don't talk during the races on comms or anything like that. As we have a spun Laust Olsen up ahead of these guys as they go by. It looks like if these GTPs pick up any damage or spin those tires at all, it's nearly impossible for them to get back up to pace, Jim.
It's relatively hot out here, too. 107 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. So we take a look at Fabian Gerber, still right behind Cy Andra. They've dropped Nick Mukanos by a fair amount these early laps, 2.8 seconds, and Fabian definitely trying to challenge the newcomer.
Yeah, and this is a very... I'm actually impressed with Nick Mukanos. He's actually up 2 positions from his starting position. He started in 5th, and he's now up to 3rd, so it's good to see him trying to climb his way forward there, but he is 3 seconds off of these guys. Now, don't think that gap isn't going to close. When these two guys catch up to the back of the Audi GTO pack, he's going to be able to close that gap by a little bit, and we've seen how good he is in traffic at the other races.
Out and around the second carousel. Keeps hot on his heels. They've got a little bit at least before they start to run into traffic, and then that will complicate things immensely. We're only 5 minutes into this race, if that even. The gap between them currently sitting at about half a second. Behind them, I mentioned Antti Lepisto seemingly a little bit out of place. He's right behind Fabian Ungluth. This is for 5th position.
As we hop on board with him, taking a look at just how difficult it is to manage the GTP through all these slow corners. Here they go over the overhill here. It's really challenging for them to do this. And so he's really trying to get into the back of Fabian Jungluth there, but it's just so challenging to get off of these corners with any speed. It takes a lot of practice.
Right on board. He's still giving us a first-hand view of just how scary it is around this place. Closing in under braking very well through a museum corner, but then off the exit, he loses that ground once again. Jungluth strong where he needs to be. He's going to deny an opportunity to that #1 car.
Yeah, these onboard shots are always great to see as we see him still trying to tackle this track. It's so challenging in these GTPs. So many off-camper corners that end up getting that rear end a little bit out. And if you put the power down at all in any of those spaces, you start to get the rear end going around, and we know how hard it is to catch that in the GTP.
Back up to the lead in the GTOs. Looks like they're going to have a friend, but it's not for position in class. This is Tobias Gerber patiently waiting. He just wants to get back to racing his own race, but he's having to re-overtake them on the same lap. So they're not getting a blue flag on their screen right now as he approaches. He's going to get one, and I don't think he's going to be able to get two here.
Yeah, it's so hard to cut through the traffic when you're in the GTPs, and the GTOs really need all the track in order to try and get by. They really struggle around here, but the GTP leaders are starting to catch up to traffic as well. Sai Andre and Fabian Gerber have just made it past Simo Raba, and they've got Antonis Garcidas up ahead of them, who's trying to battle Jim McGill, and this is starting to hold them up.
Yeah, they maybe not as aware that this is a battle for the lead, because there's been some dangerous moves already from Fabian Gerber trying to hustle through all this lap traffic for the first time. Up next for them is going to be Chris Decker, and he has closed in with that traffic. It's down to 0.2 of a second. Briefly, he was side by side with Sai Andre when he didn't have the cameras on him. They should be able to go around the outside of this Audi here.
Yeah, Sai Andre's going to get the better exit for sure. Fabian Gerber's going to have a little bit of a compromised exit here. He's going to have to get on the throttle a little bit later. That should allow Sai Andre to get a gap. And now he closes up on Ryan Lang. Trying to figure out where he's going to go by Ryan is going to be challenging, because Ryan's going to be right on the apex where he's going to want to be. But Ryan should get a better exit, and Sai should be free and clear before they get to the twisties chicanes up ahead.
Sai Andre looking around the outside, coming down a museum corner, and Fabian doing the same once again. He's having to do monkey see, monkey do just to keep up with him and not lose the ground that he has kept. There's still yet more to go. They haven't even come close to reaching the leaders here. This is Fonseca, and that's going to slow up Andre. An opportunity for Fabian Gerber. He snatches it and gets through to the lead.
That's exactly what Fabian needed, and that's exactly what Nick Vacano's seen. But Nick is, oh my goodness, look at that. Fabian Gerber gets blocked off by Stefan Lawrence. That's going to be a challenge as they both have to pit on the brakes, those two GTPs. But Fabian Gerber will retain the lead as they cross the line.
My goodness. And Sai Andre almost drifting out into Lawrence too. He is really on the heart of the loud pedal there, making sure that he doesn't lose ground. All this is happening as we continue to have the lead, and the GTOs stay within a second of each other. All three, Hall, Olenek, and Lake, have not come apart.
Yeah, Olenek has been really wrangling Hall lately. He's really trying to get by, trying to get Jamie Hall to make a mistake. He's tried a couple of moves that have not worked out for him, but he definitely seems to have better corner exit than Jamie Hall. We've talked about how important that is in the Audis. I mean, look how well he got through those chicanes. He's got that car pointing in towards the center of the corner very well, and so that's allowing him to rotate better through the corner and be able to get on the loud pedal a lot faster than Jamie Hall.
Looking back from our leader here in the GTOs. And I think we need to go back to the GTPs, because there is a stream of 4 cars battling for position in front of them, and Gerber is approaching them right now. Oh my goodness, this is an absolute nightmare for him. And Sai Andre sees it. He's trying to rush through himself. Oh, but he gets blocked off. He gets the worst of it as they are fighting for spots. That's Geisen and Laughter that are not willing to give way. Now he's going to be able to get through at least one of them, but not quite two. This is the gap that Gerber was looking for.
Yep, and there goes Gerber into the distance as, look at this. Geisen and Rangal now battling for position, and Sai just trying to go around the outside. He's able to make it work as we're on board with him. And wow, that's just impressive driving. I love seeing how these guys are able to manage the traffic.
Looks like Rangel's going to be under attack as Geisen is into the inside. This is for 4th spot, and Yuri has it. So the number 17 with a decisive move down into Charlotte's Web, taking advantage of the traffic coming through. A little bit of a look there to the inside from Rangel. Nothing doing, though, this time down through Museum Corner as they're almost nose to tail behind him. Laughter and Traegerade almost playing bumper cars through there.
Yeah, and they've been bumping and banging a lot. We've seen a lot of beating and banging between all the classes throughout this race, and the GTP leaders starting to catch up to the GTO leaders. Now, Geisen is 4th place right now, but he's 15 seconds behind our top 3 in the GTOs, so that's how much these guys in front have checked out.
And they haven't been lapped by the leaders yet, too, so they have not dealt with what those behind them have dealt with, and that may close it down a little bit, depending. Oh, and our leader just got held up by traffic of his own class. That was Jamie Hall, who had a big checkup behind Ebersold.
Yeah, and here comes Fabian Gerber to try and make the pass on these guys. Phil Lake's going to try and make a move on Rob Olenek on exit, but can't get the over-under done. But Rob gets a bad exit that time around. Phil Lake has got the move. He's going to look to the inside. Here comes Fabian Gerber. He's going to have to just watch as these guys battle, bump, and beat and bang doors as they go through. Oh my goodness, these two are really going at it.
Worst case scenario for Fabian Gerber, because he doesn't want to get tangled in them if they get into a mess. As they finally get single file, the gap that he had built up has gone away, and he gets checked up. The roles have been reversed. Andra is going to try it, but no, he gets chopped off.
Oh, this is going to be stressful. Andra on the outside. That's what I was worried about. Oh, contact between Andra and Olenek. Olenek almost off track, is able to retain that position, but that's going to make him back up to Phil quite a bit. That was impressive driving to hang on to it, but the battle for the lead, the GTPs, is not done. Fabian Gerber gets held up by, Jamie Hall. Here comes Andra up to the inside.
Much better exit onto the front stretch. It's a quick first corner, though, usually not an out-braking zone. They're going to go side by side through there as they plunge down into the valley, and still Gerber holds him off. He also nearly made contact with Phil Lake in that exchange as they went through. This is some tense stuff here, and we still have 3/4 of the race left to go. Another look to the inside down into Charlotte's Web. Andra manages to take the apex away with some great braking. Off the corner, though, it's going to be another drag race. Andra has the edge yet again, but he's going to be on the outside as they come up to Museum Corner. Are they daring enough to go side by side? No. Gerber backs out of it.
Impressive stuff from both of these guys. They both have a little bit of damage to their sides. To their side clips at this point, so they're both pretty much on even playing field, but Andra showing that he has no fear diving up to the inside through Charlotte's Web. What a move he made there, and both of these guys trying to work through the traffic as best they can. Fabian a little bit off track there as you see in the rearview mirror of Andra off that bumper cam.
This may have settled down at least for a small time being, so let's head back to the lead in the GTOs. Because Phil Lake, hot on the heels of Jamie Hall, is trying to see what he can do with that green machine. And are they going to have more traffic come through? Because that was just the leaders, by the way, and now they're being approached by Mukano. So yes, they're going to have to deal with yet more of them.
Yeah, Nick should be passing Rob around the outside through the carousel here. So Nick's going to catch them when they go into the braking for Charlotte's Web. That's going to be a challenge for those guys. Looks like we've had another wreck in the GTPs. That was Martin Kraytrig. We'll take a look at that one later.
I don't think we've had any time for any replays yet, Far, because it's basically just been nonstop action. Mukanos is fighting for position. That's Lepisto behind him in the blue and white machine. So he really can't dilly-dally behind these GTO leaders.
Yeah,
you can see how much that checks him up.
It definitely checked him up a lot, and he's got Anti Lepisto right on his back bumper. So this is the battle for the lead in the GTOs, and the battle for third place in the GTPs. They're going to pass each other right here. Ooh, Phil Lake gets a little bit loose, flipping the grass there a little bit. Jamie Hall's going to have to break early, so is Phil Lake. They're going to let those guys by and battle it out amongst themselves. Oh, Jamie Hall gets a bad exit behind them. Phil Lake able to get up to the inside. This is going to be a challenging pass for Phil Lake. If he tries to make it by here, he's going to have to take the shorter way around the track. He gets a better exit that time. Can he go to the apex? He's going to try it. He's going to cut off Jamie Hall and Phil Lake to the lead in the GTOs.
Ambitious stuff, but the number 3 up to the top spot now. All this happening in front of Rob Olenek, who has not fallen away. Jungbluth, the next one, approaching them from the prototype class, catching them around the outside of the Alabama roller coaster. As they come up and over the crest of turn 4, I don't think he's going to get to them. He might get to the hall before Charlotte's Web. No, he's going to play patient and play nice.
Yeah, but all this battling between our leaders has brought Rob Olnick back to the fore. He is up to within a second to Jamie Hall in second place. So as Fabian Jungbluth tries to get by and figure out a way to get by these guys, he's going to be able to get by one, but he won't be able to get by Phil Lake by the time they go downhill.
It separates the battle, at least for the time being. And that is good news for Phil Lake. He likes having that buffer. Now, if he can be caught at a good time, he won't lose that buffer. Let's see here, and he will indeed. Jungbluth easily sneaking off to the right side and letting him be. Whew. Oh, and Jungbluth goes off right in front of him. There you saw a little bit of that on screen. No drama, though. He returns. A little bit behind them for 5th place. Laughter and Trangarade are still fighting for that spot. They've lost touch with Geisen in front of them for 4th, and down to the inside into turn 12. Going to go side by side just as they're being approached from a GTP behind. That's Koivisto, but Trangarade going to take it.
For the moment, but he's going to have to close up this radius just a little bit to try and cut off Laughter. He's able to do so, but it's so hard to turn in when you're that wide in the GTOs. Impressive stuff for Trangarade to hold that position. Laughter and Trangarade separated by Koivisto for a moment. That's going to let Trangarade get away once again, but look at that, under the brakes. Laughter quite efficient there and is able to close the gap once again. He's definitely not done with this battle.
Poking and prodding. He wants to try and sneak that back. They are getting a little bit closer to Yuri up ahead of them. The number 17 slowed up somewhat by the traffic. And here comes more. That's Tobias Gerber making a move behind them. And that was for position with Doug Cloud, who he did manage to overtake. Oh, and off course, Ove Trangarade with a mistake off the corner.
Yeah, so Ove Trangarade now recovering, but that was a pretty big mistake for him. He's lost quite a few positions there.
Can't tell. Did he miss a gear? Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, it sure looks like he missed a gear. He just pulled off to the side of the road because he saw just how bad the battles were going on behind him.
Well, that cost him a lot of time. It's 5.5 seconds up to Laughter now.
Antti Lepisto's making a pass on Nick McConnell's right now. They put Pablo Rangel 3 wide. This is for 3rd place in the GTPs. They're still side by side as they're headed towards the downhill. This could be stressful. They've got Jim McGill up ahead of them in the GTOs. Oh, Lepisto almost makes contact with the back of McConnell's.
Wanted to turn in, but there was a car there. And Geisen getting on the radio with them. Oh, wait, I think that was, no, it was Rangel that they went 3 wide with. Excuse me. Still more traffic up ahead. Jim McGill is going to check him up slightly. Lepisto with a good run, but not enough straightaway to do anything with it.
Yeah, so Nick McConnell will stay ahead for the time being, but look at this. Oh my goodness, it's so tight between the two of them.
And speaking of tight, as this is happening, the lead in GTP is only 0.2 apart. Andra and Gerber still going at it, and now, of course, as soon as we go there, they start to separate finally. They are coming up on traffic in their own class. Don Peak ahead of them. We've always seen it's a little bit harder to pass your own class than it is the slower class cars.
That is definitely the case, and it looks like Ben Laughter and Yuri Giesen has made contact going through the downhill. Giesen now in behind in 5th place, and wow, Ben Laughter in 6th, so they both made contact there.
Yeah, I think that one's worth a replay. Let's see if we can get that one on screen. Laughter made a bold move, and, well, actually, it was a bold defense, I should say. Here we go. We'll take another look at it. Defending to the inside. A little too much curb the first time, and, oh, it was all over the grass. He just could not turn the car, and the 17 gets the worst of it.
And while we're coming back, the battle for the GTO lead is very tight between those two drivers. Phil Lake and Jamie Hall just got held up by Lars Olsen and Alex Millward, who are on the same lap as them because of the troubles that they had earlier on in the race. and they were nearly side by side once again. So don't think for 1 second that these two teammates are done battling with one another. Rob Olenek still only 1 second behind them. He's still within striking distance, Joe.
So as we watch this, my eyes are everywhere, if I'm honest, because of how close the lead is here in GTO and in Prototype. So I'll try and give a shout if I see the other one start to see action. We're halfway through this race. And there you see the lap comparison between Lake and Hall right now. That time through, Hall just a 10th quicker, making sure to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, it's just the level of competition out here has been extraordinary between all of these drivers. There has not been much give and take around this track this race. It has been mostly take.
As we watch on board with Fabian Gerber, this is the GTP lead. Coming down through turn 1. Oof, man, just very strong in some places. What amazes me too is the level of experience that we're seeing from Gerber, coming in handy a few times, really to snatch up some sneaky moves on Andra.
Yeah, and I think Cy Andra definitely has the racecraft that Fabian that keeps Fabian in behind him. So Fabian's going to have to use the traffic as a pick to try and make a move on Cy Andra, because Cy is putting his car exactly where he needs to keep Fabian behind.
Got a little bit of a respite with no traffic. There is a slow car that had an off track recently. Antoni in the number 32 ahead of him there. You see him flash across the screen. He is going a little bit slow, so they might approach him at a speed they're not expecting, and he might be at the apex. Yes, he will be, just when they don't want it, but both are heads up, and they'll get it evenly.
Yeah, that isn't the worst place to catch a GTO, because the setup for the next corner is all the way on the outside for these GTPs, but it does make things a lot more stressful and make you have to brake while turning, so it can be really challenging. But here's where Cy Andra really does get an advantage. It's through the exit of the carousel and over into Charlotte's Web.
Watch and see what he does this time. Yeah, that car looks strong. Really not much of a response from Fabian Gerber here. And that is exactly where you want to be on top of him, to be able to attack down into that hairpin.
Yeah, but look at this. Fabian seems to have a better way of it in most of the rest of the course. It's just that one section where Cy really pulls ahead. So if Fabian can get a good exit there, it just looks like on the corner exits through the sharper, longer corners that Cy is able to get his foot down a little bit faster, and that's where Gerber seems to lose time.
Here's where things get interesting. We will have our leaders run across one another very soon. They'll be the next one to meet up, because Olenek is the next car ahead of them. And I think they're going to catch them probably about within a lap here. That's some action for 6th place with Clayton McLeod attacking Sintez Guindo. Looks like he's going to be able to get that. Actually, was that? No, that was Sintez Guindo and Suarez for 7th, I think.
Well, all three of them were actually side by side. It was very crazy between all of them. We're going to do a replay here, because coming over the overhill, they actually went 3 wide with Chris Decker behind them. You're going to see it right here on screen.
That was a car all the way wheels in the grass, too. I think that was McLeod. Man, great stuff here, and everybody gets out the other side without incident. So good heads up from all drivers involved. Again, that was for 6th, 7th, and 8th. McLeod 6th, Sintez Guindo 7th, and Suarez now having fallen to 8th position. Now let's head over to our GTP leaders one more time. Andra now behind Olenek, and he caught a little bit of traffic before that of Simo Raba being lapped there. So that's closed them in. And remember, these top 3 GTOs are probably not going to give way as readily. They're all fighting for a win just as much as these 2 prototypes. They're going to get Olenek and sending it in deep. Fabian Gerber has to take a little bit of a compromised line. Now they come up to Hall, and then they've got Lake.
They should be able to get Hall here, but Lake's going to be the challenge, because they'll catch him going into the braking for Charlotte's Web. So this will be a really tough spot for both of them to try and pass him. Looks like Sai's going to be able to get it done easily, but now they've got a lot of GTO traffic, and this will be traffic for Phil Lake as well. Phil Lake, our leader in the GTOs in that blue and silver machine, and up ahead of them, that is Jim McGill, 12th place in the GTOs in that tan machine, in the tan and black. So, oh, Fabian's going to get way held up here. Oh! Jim taking evasive action to make sure he doesn't get punted. That's going to allow Phil to get through, and Gerber, but Gerber lost a ton of time, but that's not the end of it. Sai is being held up now by Pablo Rangel, so Fabian Gerber makes up all that time he just lost in one corner.
Traffic giveth and the traffic taketh. 15 minutes left to go now, and they're still not done with it. And they're coming up to yet more traffic as we switch to the GTOs now, watching as they are left behind by our prototype leaders. Lake still ahead of Hall and Olenek. It almost looks like, I know there's not much of an aero problem among these cars, but it seems like they can't get close to one another.
And that's mostly because of the traffic that's passing them. They've gotten separated so many times that it's going to really take a risky move from Jamie Hall to try and get by Phil Lake. But look at this. Sai Andre now catching up to lap traffic of his own class. This should really complicate things between Fabian Gerber and Sai Andre, because this class, they won't have many places to go to get out of their way. Chris Bauman looks like he took the corner just a little bit deep there through Charlotte's Web. He's actually going to stay out of the way of both Sai and Fabian. But as they catch up to Douglas Cloud and Hideki Koivisto, things will be challenging between this class.
Yeah, and that's great sportsmanship from Bauman, because he was in a fight for position with Douglas Cloud before that. He gave up a lot of time. I think he knows it could yet come back to him the way these gaps have come and go. When Cloud is going to catch his traffic in an awkward spot just to complicate matters. Sai Andra checking up just in time. Now he's able to sneak to the inside. And indeed, look at how much that gave back to Bauman. The gap that he lost because Douglas Cloud is suddenly being closely chased by that number 9. Oh, never mind, because there goes Bauman off track.
And you just got to think to yourself that these guys' heart rates must be through the roof right now as they're trying to navigate all this, especially Sai and Fabian as they're trying to stay on. Sai's trying to stay ahead, Fabian trying to stay on the tail of Sai. This is really, really challenging stuff for these lead drivers.
Andre looking for a belated birthday gift here. And yet more traffic. Koivisto going by Decker. Koivisto going to go a lap down here to our prototype leaders. Decker stays dutifully off to the right side, letting both Andra and Gerber through. What are they going to do, though, with this EVA scheme painted car?
Yeah, Koivisto didn't want to let them by before that downhill. He's going to let them by right now, but that did hold up Sai Andre just a little bit. Fabian Gerber with a good opportunity here, but there's not another lapped car up until forward, so we're going to go on board with Fabian Gerber and see how he handles this undulating section of track.
Very well, it looks like he closes up through there onto the back of Sai Andra. Number 6 has got to withstand this for 12 more minutes. Lawrence and Lang are the two in front of them. Also drivers fighting for spot. They're looking for 7th position.
All right, so they're going to be able to go around both of them around the outside. I think Sai's going to be able to get both of them before they hit the uphill, and Fabian should be able to get them going over the crest. This will be a little stressful for Fabian. They'll be able to keep it out of the grass. Yes, just barely. So they were able to both get by. I mean, I'm just impressed by the caliber of driving.
And Lang, sorry, that was contact from Lawrence, who lost it under braking. Lang thought he spied an opportunity, and poor Lawrence couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah, Lawrence ends up clipping the grass and spinning into Lang, unfortunately. So, fortunately, I think both of them will be able to get away without significant damage, but that was a scary moment for both drivers for sure.
Great job on keeping it together. Lawrence, I don't think even went off track after that. Just slid it sideways and kept it going, losing a little bit of time. Incredible what this has done to the racing throughout the field. Going to our leaders once again now. They approach Mike Reuter. He's 10th in class. They have lapped a good chunk of this prototype field.
They definitely have. And if you're wondering why we haven't gone to the lead in the GTOs in a while, that's because Phil Lake has pulled a 1.5 second lead over Jamie Hall. Rob Olenek still a second behind. We will go back to that if it closes once again, but this is where the action is on track. This is actually our closest battle on track.
Oh, and let's stay here, but bad news for fans of Lawrence. He must have hit his suspension with that little bit of contact because he's taken it into pit lane. So sad to see that wasn't a harmless little touch between the cars. Now up in front of them, Yuri in the number 17. He's already had dramas through this corner. He doesn't want more of them. He's going to be able to stay out of the way. He's not in a direct battle right now, but he's going to stick with his racing line.
Yo!
Oh, almost taking Andra off the course, and they're going to get through, but that was a little bit scary.
Yeah, I think both drivers are going to be thinking they're lucky. All three drivers are going to be thinking they're lucky stars. Nothing happened there. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those moments where as the GTO driver, you just have to lift because there's no way you're going to be able to get to the apex with the GTP to your inside, and you're not going to be able to scare him off of it either. So that's one of those moments where you just got to lift and realize you're going to lose some time. But, you know, Yuri is a good 4 seconds, 6 seconds behind Ben Lafter in 6th place, so he doesn't have a lot to lose at the moment.
So now down to 10 minutes left. This has been incredible stuff. A quick glance at our leader in the GTOs, Phil Lake, 1.2 seconds ahead of Hall. Poor Olenek, not really been able to keep up, probably like he expected considering his pace in qualifying.
Yeah, and Phil has made that move on Jamie early and has been able to retain that lead. And Jamie Hall, oh, and Fabian Gerber's actually gone through the grass. He's gonna get a slowdown. Our second place driver in the GTPs will end up with a slowdown here. He might still be able to retain the gap to Cy Andra a little bit, but Cy's gonna be able to get away. He's gonna have to hope that traffic's gonna hold him up.
Let's take a look at this. I think this was self-made error. I mean, the only other thing I could think is he got distracted because far ahead, Trangarade. Yeah, that's Trangarade in the white GTO. He's going to go off too, so it could have been target fixation, but otherwise, unforced.
Yeah, I think he was just worried about getting. I think he was just worried about the rear end coming around, so he decided to take the slowdown instead. But that might have damaged his suspension or his under arrow. And if that's the case, he's going to have trouble catching up to Cyandra. But I mean, I shouldn't speak because he's already closed the gap by about half a second.
It didn't seem to hurt him too bad. Let's watch from on board. He seems to have been pretty fast in the lower speed corners, so I mean, would the under tray affect that, or is that something that's just for the high speed stuff?
That's mostly for the high speed stuff, and it'll affect your top speed, which Cyandra already has an advantage on, so it's still pretty uneven playing field between these two guys. But to say that Fabian Gerber's GTP is a little bit worse for the wear would be an understatement. He's got damage on all sides of that thing, front, back, you know, left, right. It's just the clip is looking not so great right now, but he's keeping up the fight to Sai as we ride on board with him. And here they come up to Simo Raba in the 13th position. I think Sai's going to catch him at a bad time. Here comes Fabian's opportunity.
And it slows him up, but I don't think that's a passing spot there. They're going to have to stay single file. Could yet get another chance down the line. They're going to come up to Lucas Fort about half a lap here.
And the lead in the GTOs has closed, Joe. We've got Phil Lake now with, he's lost about half a second to Jamie Hall. Jamie now in within 0.6 of a second.
Boy, it's been almost, I'd say, traumatic. Oh, and behind them, we don't see it on screen, but Olenek also had to take a cut course and nearly ran into Sintez Guindo in the process. Let's take a look at that. And if we stay on this replay, Sintez Guindo gets turned about a corner later at very high speed there. And look at almost Sintez Guindo. Now, if we switch over to Sintez Guindo right there, he's in a battle for position here, and unfortunately, it does not come out the way he would like.
Ooh, yeah, that's a
blatant turn, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's both drivers going for the same apex, and they just end up being side by side at the wrong time.
Back to the leaders. Gerber had a shot at it, but couldn't do it. Cy Andra fends him off through 11 and 12. 13, rather.
I'm sorry, Joe. This is a fantastic battle from two heavy hitters here. Cy Andra and Fabian Gerber. Cypher usually races in a different series. We've seen him here before, and he's so strong in this GTP. And Fabian Gerber, our reigning champion, I mean, he's on a roll right now, and these two guys duking it out. It's awesome to see this level, this caliber of racing here from the top split Kamel.
And seeing some of the drivers that you don't typically see in the retro series come and give the cars a try and find out what it's all about. And credit to Cy, he has adapted quickly, showing why he is one of the quickest drivers here on the iRacing service. Gerber still behind him. It's been this way for just about the entire race. I don't think they've been separated by more than 2 seconds this whole time.
They definitely have it. Now they've got Steven Lawrence and Pablo Rangel. They're battling for the 10th position. Pablo just made the pass on Steven this lap. All right, so Steven's going to let them by. Oh, here comes the move from Fabian up the inside. What a risky pass, and he's able to close it.
And that is what you call reading the situation. Fabian Gerber, can we get a replay on board from Fabian's view? That is the move of the race.
That's the move of the season. What a decisive moment there. He just jumps up the inside. Look at him stick it. Unbelievable pass.
Incredible. Can he hold on to it, though? He's made moves like that so far this race, and he's got to keep with it and keep Cy Andra from making similar advantageous executions as they come up to Fonseca, as well as Peak and Olenek up ahead of them.
5 minutes to go in this race. Fabian waited for the right moment and took it. But Cy Andra, we've seen how assertive he can be before. He's not going to be done with this battle as they close up to Donald Peak and Rob Olenek. Don's going to have to figure out a way to let these guys by in one of the toughest sections.
Right on board with Andra now. As you can see, they're approaching at 2 different speeds here, and Don's going to try and get around Olenek. He does so successfully. Now can he let the leaders through? Not quite here.
Held up. Oh man, that was stressful. Oh, Rob's off track one more time, but Fabian got held up by Don a little bit. Cy's going to be able to close in once again. It's going to be no worse for wear when they get onto the front stretch.
Unbelievable. I think they've got about 3 laps left to go here across the line. Possibly.
Oh no! Jamie Hall in second place of the GTOs just got punted a little bit by Antonius Garcinas, and he hits him again, unfortunately. Those two drivers getting together. We're going to take a replay of this. This was crazy down the front stretch.
Oh my goodness. And as we watch this, once he goes off, we need an onboard with Gerber, because our leader nearly got taken out by that GTO, the number 32 there. But she's going to have issues here.
Oh, yikes.
Just got through in time, and that went in front of Andra as well. As we come back live, Andra even got on the radio. It's saying we can't say here on air. So these guys have high tensions as now he's held up, and we've seen this so many times. The backstretch seems to be the place where you can try and make the moves for the lead, but Gerber's going to fend him off. Andra, not quite there. He's going to get a second shot at out of turn 13, side by side, as they come up to Phil Lake. This is the leader in the GTO class. Are we going to go 3 wide for 3 of our leaders? Not quite. He's going to hold him up just a little bit. Andra back up to the top spot. Fabian Gerber with just 2.5 minutes to try and get it back.
I'm sorry, but we've not seen racing like this in a long time. These guys are putting everything out there, taking every risk, and they're trusting Phil Lake to stay on his line on the inside. Cy Andra making the move when it counts. 3 minutes to go. Fabian Gerber's going to have to get the move done. They've got more lap traffic up ahead. It's Ryan Lang in the lap GTO.
Lang is going so slow. He sees it coming. He just lets him on through. He wants no part of this. Down to 2 minutes left now. They're going to get more chances. And interestingly, yet again, we've seen this a couple times already this season. Tobias Gerber and Fabian Gerber in a situation where potentially the blood between brothers here could affect the race.
Yeah, Tobias Gerber is the next car on track up ahead of them, and he's actually battling with Pablo Suarez for the 8th position. He might not be looking in his mirrors right now. They're only separated by 0.4 of a second, so Cy Andre and Fabian Gerber are going to have some work to do. We're closing in. This will be 2 laps to go, I believe, at the line. They will catch Pablo and Tobias on this lap.
Will indeed be 2 laps to go as now they come across. It'll be a little bit before they get up to them. Harder to try and catch these prototypes. It might be a case where it comes down to the final lap if they get up to these 2 in front. And that battle just went side by side, so they're slowing each other up more. Tobias Gerber with a brave move on Suarez down into Charlotte's Web. There you see him continuing on the battle as they are approached by Andra and Fabian Gerber. Finally, they get it settled out down in a museum corner.
This will be stressful. They got GTO ahead of them. That's Yeri Jason who's up ahead of them. And now, okay, all 3 of these battles are going to come together in the final section of this lap, the most stressful section. Jason is going to pull over to the side of the road, let one by. Pablo's going to try and make the move as well. He's going to get that done. Here comes Cy Andre and Gerber. Gerber's going to go for the move. It's going to be 3 wide almost. Fabian has to take the outside. He's going to lose a little bit of time here. 1 lap to go when they go across the line. Cy Andre getting held up by Pablo Suarez now.
Pick away, and he just did not pick quite the right one, but it comes back to him once again. Suarez sees it happening as they get the white flag. He dutifully pulls out of the way. Doesn't want to interrupt this fight for the lead. He knows his battle with Tobias is over. What about Tobias? Is he going to do a little bit to help his brother? Is he going to stay neutral in this battle? Come down to Charlotte's Web. He pulls over to the side, and but he's not quite close enough.
No Logano move this time by Tobias is going to let Fabian and Cy go, but Cy now has clear track up ahead of him to Aitor Santos-Guindo 6 seconds ahead. So if Cy doesn't make a mistake, he will secure this win. All he has to do is just race clean through the next sector.
For those wondering, Lake is still leading down in the GTOs, but it's a wide gap, so this is where the action is. As they come through the chicanes on the backstretch. Oh, they got a car off in front of them. Raba's going to be able to pull out of the way. Timing is good for those 2. Maybe a little bit of a distraction as Gerber pulls closer. Is he? Oh, he's going to go for it. He's going to look for the inside. He tries to send it into the final corner, but it's just not quite there. Cy Andra with a robust defense keeps the win here at Alabama. And Philip Lake, our leader down in the GTO, just a couple corners to go. Also fending off immense pressure all race long.
He's had a really impressive race and fantastic driving from him to just make a defensive race. We've seen him bad luck multiple times this race, but not this time.
Jamie Hall just got knocked off. We'll go to that in a second as Phil Lake takes the win at Barber Motorsports Park in round 3 for the Kamel GT Series. Jamie Hall loses 2nd place to Rob Olenek on the final lap. I'm not sure what caused it, though.
It was a spin. Somebody spun him. It was a GTP that spun him into the corner.
Yeah. That's Cloud there in the blue and yellow prototype. Oh, my, wow. That was a pretty blatant shove.
Yeah, Jamie's already out of the session. He's not a happy man right now.
Watching it one more time.
Oh.
It was...
Yeah, unnecessary.
He wasn't even side by side. I don't like making judgment calls, but it's the final lap. That was 2nd place taken away. Oh, we'll try and dissect it all as we take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. Round 3 in the Kamel GT series was one for the record books. Unbelievable racing in both classes for the lead. We're seeing a trend starting to form this season. Cy Andra came in with a splash and took the win by only 0.3 of a second, even down to a last corner defense, holding off Fabian Gerber, who wanted another win. So a third different winner here in our GTP class. Antti Lepisto, we didn't get to cover his run to the front. He finished on the podium despite starting in 5th, but so much fun was happening in front of him. We really didn't get to put the cameras on him. Nick Mukanos fell to 4th. Well, climbed to 4th, I should say, as he started 6th, but we're used to seeing him a little bit higher this season. I'm sure that was a little bit of a disappointing run for him. Fabian Jungbluth with a P5 was followed by Clayton McLeod in 6th. And how about this? Without a lap time in qualifying, Sintez Guindo climbed up the field from 18th to 7th. Tobias Gerber, early issues, got shoved off the track, was not in a good mood today, I'm sure. He wound up a lap down in 8th with Pablo Suarez behind him in P9. Mike Reuter rounds out your top 10. Then you got Douglas Cloud late in the race, unfortunately affecting the finish in the GTO class. He was 11th with Hideki Koivisto behind him in P12. Martin Krejcik, he finished 13th, and Alex Millward, an unusually poor day for him, finishing 14th. Don Peak was the last of the prototypes to finish ahead of the GTOs in P15.
Phil Lake takes the win in the GTOs, racing a clean race and staying out of trouble was the name of the game for him. Rob Olenek takes second on the last lap after Jamie Hall gets sent off track by a lap GTP. And Jamie ends up in 3rd. Ben Laughter finishes ahead of Ove Trangrade after they were battling for a while. He finishes in the 4th spot with Ove Trangrade in 5th. Yuri Gierson finishes in the 6th spot with Ryan Lang in 7th. Chris Decker is going to finish in 8th and Pablo Rangel in 9th. Lang, Decker, and Rangel battling most of the race between each other. Carlos Fonseca is going to finish in the 15th position with Stephen Lawrence. In the 10th position with Stephen Lawrence in 11th, Lucas Fort in 12th, Simo Raba is going to come home 13th position, then Jim McGill 14th, and the rest of the vehicles are the ones that had bad days. Laust Olsen, Antonis Gartsidis, Chris Bauman, Chris Lawrence, Olivier Ebersold, Roy Pruitt, and Jacob Leon.
We've got our winner here ready to talk to us. And Cy, happy belated birthday. It seems as though you, the leftover birthday cake didn't weigh you down too much because you've come into a car that we haven't seen you in, and you were fast from the get-go.
What can I say, Joe? I love downforce.
Clearly, and talk to us about that battle with Fabian Gerber. Have you raced with him before, or is this your first time going up against him? Because he's usually the one fighting for the win here, and we were curious how it would go between you two.
I honestly, I don't remember. I think we have, but I couldn't tell you exactly. I knew he was a good guy. I knew I could trust him side by side, and that's all I needed to know, really. Sending it 3 wide over the crest in the 3rd sector was not something I would do with people I don't trust.
Well, it gave us a lot of excitement. If you go back and watch the broadcast, we really enjoyed watching it. I mean, talk to us a little bit about the battle. What were some of the thoughts going through your head? How did you approach some of those wild opportunities of you two taking passes?
I knew from the beginning of the race it would be about managing traffic and making sure you don't get caught up in giving the guy behind you a run. I did that as much as I could, and I think I did that for probably the middle half of the race pretty successfully. But sometimes you just can't control traffic. They're a little bit slower than you think, they're a little bit faster than you think, or you might just get caught in a bad area. My bad area was through the little kink on the back straight. I think Fabian was running a little bit more front downforce than I was and was able to carry a bit more speed through there. And when I got held up by GTO traffic, that was his chance, and he took it. I think my best area was sector 1 in the braking zones for the hairpin and into the corkscrew. And I think I made and you could say the traction zones as well. I think I had a little bit of a better launch. But like you said, it was give and take, and you really have to maximize your strengths. And it really came down to just honestly who played traffic the best.
Yeah, we had some of those in the background here saying those exact words. So again, congratulations. Real quick before you go, though, will we see you back again here in this series?
I remember why I love this car so much. Schedule permitting, I will be back.
Oh, we'd love to see that because we'd love to see more races like this. That was Cy Andra, your winner here today. And then I believe up next we have our winner in the GTOs. Phil Lake is ready to talk to Adam Lindgren.
Yeah, Phil, it was not an uneventful race for you at all. You climbed all the way up to first place from that fourth starting position. And talk to me about this race because it seemed like a hard battle all the way through.
Yeah, it was really tough. I knew I needed to stay with Rob and Jamie at the start, and I managed to get past Uwe off the line, which was ideal. And then I just had to wait for just any mistake or any slightly bad exit or something and pounce on it. So Rob had I think he had a bit of a slide off of the hairpin, and I managed to just sneak up his inside for the waterfall. And then Jamie ran a little wide. I think that was he was put offline by a Nissan, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly. And I managed to just slide up his inside too. And I was just holding on for the rest of the race and trying to deal with the traffic as best I could, which was really tough today.
Yeah, what were some of the most stressful moments in traffic that you had? Because we saw those GTPs really just having their way with the traffic out there. How tough was it?
Probably worse than Lime Rock. It was everywhere that the Nissans can pass, they're then immediately slow off of the corner after. So if they pass you into the hairpin, then you're waiting for them. So you almost can't avoid losing time. You're just gonna lose time, and it was just really, really hard to try and minimize the time loss as best as I could, and I had to be a lot more assertive than normal with some traffic and kind of force people to stay behind just to protect the gap to Jamie because he was catching me at the end there.
And one last question for you. You are going to take the lead. I know it's early in the season, but you are going to take the lead in the points off of this. And it seems like the key for you tends to be consistency, so long as bad luck doesn't befall you. And how do you achieve consistency on track with this multi-class action that's so tense?
A lot of reading the situation and experience of many seasons of Kamel, and you kind of already know what the Nissans are going to do, and you know they're going to be slow off of certain corners, and one easy tip that can avoid a lot of incidents is just don't follow directly behind a Nissan out of a corner because you might catch it way quicker than you're expecting. So just little stuff like that, and don't push your luck too much.
Well, Phil, congrats on the first place on the win today, and we look forward to seeing you at Twin Ring next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That was Phil Lake, our first place finisher in the GTOs. And next up, we have Fabian Gerber, who finished second in the GTPs.
Yes, the other side of that intense battle that we watched all race long. Fabian, you and Cy look like you were having fun. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it was real fun. It was one of the better races in a long time. But it was, on the other hand, extremely tough because it's traffic in the end decided actually who's going to win. So, like I said last week, the track is not really good for this series for multi-class racing with cars that have so different speeds. So there were some really heavy moments, and we were probably a bit too aggressive at times. But yeah, that's just not consciously. That's just happened.
I can understand. We saw there was a couple of moments there. They had a little bit of contact. We can see here on the screen in the replay. You've got some damage on the car. How was it handling? Did the under tray get hurt when you had the cut across museum corner there?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It was the tires were pretty much gone, the fronts at least. So it was hard to send. And whenever I was so close behind Sai, it was hard to tell the handling anyway because of the dirty air. So and I got hit once early in the race by an Audi, but I don't know if that got damage anything. But I didn't feel like anything was wrong with the car. It was all okay.
Well, that's good to hear at least. Speaking of sending it, tell us about that last corner on the last lap. Did you really think that you were going to be able to get that one in there?
No, but I wanted to scare him off, so maybe he would leave me some space. And I was always a little bit later on the brakes there, and I felt maybe if he panics, I could maybe squeeze myself in. But it was safe. I was ready to get on the curb and not hit him or anything else.
I wondered about that because it shocked even me. Well, again, congratulations on a great battle and a second place here today. Hopefully, we'll see you when we head over to Japan.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.
That's Fabian Gerber. And finally, one last one. We've got Adam talking to Ben Laughter.
Yeah, Ben finished 4th place today in the GTOs. And Ben, you had an eventful race today. You, Ove, and Jason were really battling it out between each other. Talk to me about your experience today.
Yeah, well, I don't know Yuri. I know Uwe. He and I have seen each other's back bumpers a lot, and so it's always fun to race with Uwe. But I'm going to throw Yuri in there as well. I collected him at one point, messing up Museum Corner, I think it was. But clean racer, good racer. Hope to see him here some more.
Yeah, you definitely had an exciting battle, and finishing 4th today, that's a great finish for sure with all the battles that we saw on track today. But talk to me about the traffic. A lot of drivers have said that it was very hard out there. How much did that break up your battles?
There's traffic. Yeah, this is a fantastic racetrack. It's difficult for multi-class for all the reasons that Phil said. It's just super hard to predict where someone's going to be because there's no right place to do anything. You've just got to sort of work together with the Nissans as much as you possibly can. There were also some off the pace Audis in here today that, man, guys, if you're going to come to Camel, please pop in at like 3 hours of practice. We love to see new faces, but we need them to practice, or you kind of get in the way and cause some messes.
Yeah, part of the deal with Camel is the official series and the nature of that. But next week we head over to Japan and take on Twin Ring Motegi. What are your thoughts about that track?
Had some good fights there. Not the biggest fan of the track. It's a lot of straights and right angles. But it'll be a nice mix after this. You can't be much different in tracks, so I love the variety. I've had some fun there before. I remember having a really good fight with Ville one time at that track. So as always, looking forward to it. And for today, I just want to shout out, top 4 were all Dirty Torque drivers. So that's a good showing for the team.
Yeah, definitely a good showing for sure. And a great 4th place finish, Ben. We haven't had you up here in a while. Is there anyone else you want to thank aside from your team?
Primarily just myself. My narcissism doesn't allow for anything else.
Well, fair enough, Ben. Well, congrats on the 4th place. We look forward to you continuing to climb the ladder up to the podium, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, fellas. Good time as always.
All right, that was Ben Laughter, our 4th place finisher in the GTOs. Back to you, Joe.
So glad we got some good interviews out of that one that were just as entertaining as the race. But it's time to close up. So, of course, we want to thank the Kamel GT series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. We've got a merchandise store linked in the description below, gsrc.storenv.com. While you're down there, make sure and subscribe to the channel by clicking that big red subscribe button. As we mentioned, we're heading over to Twin Ring Motegi, and of course, it is the road course there that we will be running. That'll be July 4th, so hopefully you'll celebrate with us that day. That'll be 1 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.